So we're back, and we're going to continue the Beyond the Bio series. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Justin James. I'm one of the student pastors here at Fuse and Genesis Metro, and it is an honor and privilege to be up here on this stage to talk to you and to serve you in this capacity. So when it comes to social media, that's probably the other microphone that we just dropped, but when it comes to social media, about 3 weeks ago, I was probably the least connected in social media when it came to the pastors, Pastor Corey and Pastor Titus. But about 3 weeks ago, I decided, you know, if I'm going to talk about social media, I guess I should get an Instagram account, okay? So I created an Instagram account so that I could be connected and keep up with you, the students. I also went and I created a Facebook account so I could keep up and stay connected to your parents. But when it comes to Instagram and all the social media, I realized that, you know, even within the past 3 weeks, I started picking up your language and all the crazy things that y'all say. The other day, I was watching a basketball game, and next thing you know, I started saying, "We cook, chat. That's drip for real." But nah, that last play was mad sus. Bro got that dog in him, though. Came in clutch. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what half of that means. But, you know, I applaud y'all for y'all's creativity with these words. But when it comes to social media and adding these new accounts, I realized, you know, that was doubling what I already have. And that was a lot. I don't know how y'all do it. I mean, I give kudos to each and every one of you that can manage multiple social media accounts. What I realized when I did this, I had to start setting parameters. I had to put screen limits or screen time limits, app limits on my phone. And when I did this, you know, I had the passcode, so I was still in control, right? Well, when I first started doing this, I would set a time limit, and then that warning would come up, and it would say, hey, you have 5 minutes, and then it would get to time, and it would close the app. And I'd be like, okay, that's fine. I can comply with that. Because that was my first time. You know, I was very disciplined. But as time progressed, I realized, you know what? I have control of this. I can change. I can extend this as long as I need to. So it started with 10 minutes here. And a week would pass, and I'd be like, you know what? I can extend it more than that. I can do another 10 minutes and another 10. And by the time a month passed, I was bypassing the limit altogether. Now, at no point did I just take the limit off. I knew it was there. I would just bypass it. And see, I think that's kind of what we do with our life. You know, we start extending things. We start with these small compromises, and we start thinking we can control it. But the reality is, it's our desire that's controlling us. So we want more access. We want fewer limits. And we want an easier way around restrictions. And sometimes we look for the shortcuts. We want to bypass those limits altogether. But just like in life, not every path we take leads to somewhere good. See, Jesus warns us in Matthew 7:13-14, says, enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few will find it. You know, if we didn't know what was easy or hard, we would all probably choose the path that leads to life. But why? Why is it so difficult? Why is it so hard to stay on that path? See, James 1:14-15 says, but each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Then, after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death. You see, the 10 minutes that I spent extending my time started turning into hours. Those hours turned into habits, and those habits turned into a lifestyle. See, sin doesn't want to destroy you all at once. It wants to drag it out. We call that gradual corruption. Gradual corruption is a slow, almost unnoticed process of drifting away from God's purpose due to small compromises, unchecked desires, and repeated exposure to temptation. It's just a little more won't hurt, right? Just a little more gossip. Nobody will get hurt from that. Just one more party. Just one more party. Just one more time, I'll push the boundaries in my relationship. Students, the question I'm going to ask of you tonight is, which path are you on today? Are you on the one that leads to life, or are you on the one that leads to destruction? Y'all still with me? My mic still working? All right, I haven't even started preaching yet, so here we go. All right, we're going to talk tonight about Samson. So the best way to illustrate gradual corruption is through Samson. I'm sure many of you have heard the story about Samson. We're going to go from birth to death, okay? I'm going to try to paraphrase as much as I can so we don't have to go through 3 chapters, okay? So in Judges 13, okay, Samson is born. But before he's born, an angel of the Lord was sent to his mother and tells his mother, "You will bear a child, and he will be born, and he will be the leader of the Israelites, and he will deliver them from the hand of the Philistines." See, before he was born, he was told to his mother that he was going to be dedicated to God. This was his calling. But part of his calling included that he had to live as a Nazirite, which meant he had a special vow, or special vows, plural, that he had to follow. 1 was do not drink alcohol. 2, do not come in contact with anything dead. 3, do not cut the hair on your head. 3 vows that he had to follow. The first thing you need to know tonight is there is a path that is paved towards purpose. See, when I was a kid, I used to think that I had purpose in my life, that there was going to be something that was going to be revealed to me. I grew up in the church. I remember watching a lot of sports and seeing a lot of athletes in these post-game interviews or post-game press conferences talk about how lucky they were to be in that position. And they were given all the credit to their personal Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And I was like, you know what, that's going to be me one day, right? God's going to use me in that platform. You know, I play sports. I want to be a professional athlete. Well, obviously, that didn't work out. But he's still using me. And I want the story for you tonight is that he can use you. Even though you don't know the answers right now, you don't have to. I think oftentimes as a student, you hear the word calling or purpose, and you don't know what that looks like. And what happens is you let that be a burden instead of a blessing. So you don't have to know the answers right now. Some of you are in 6th grade. You're in 10th grade. You're in 12th grade. And you think you have to know them right now. I promise you don't. Did I know I was going to be a student pastor 10 years ago? No. 2 years ago? No. See, there's a path to your purpose. All you have to do in this situation, you don't have to know the answers, but you do have to trust that God has a purpose for you. You have to trust him, and you have to be obedient. You have to seek him out so that one day he does reveal it to you. Your obedience is what draws you closer to those answers. So we can't all be like Samson. We don't have an angel from the Lord coming to our mom and telling us that we're going to be a leader, okay? That's not what happens. Now, some of you may have some parents that have that prophetic vision for you, and I promise they probably do think what's best for you, but this is different, right? Our purpose is different from each other. Not one of us can be like Samson. Some of you need to realize that maybe your purpose is to use your talent as a leader to find lost souls. Maybe it's just to be an everyday example so that one day someone notices that you are living a life that's different than theirs. Maybe for some of you, your purpose might just be to grow up and be a mom or dad that loves on your children so that they can be part of the next generation here at Fuse. See, last week, or actually 2 weeks ago, sorry, we missed last week. 2 weeks ago, Titus preached on comparison, okay? And he talked about purpose and how oftentimes what happens is we idolize someone or we fixate on someone. We're like, well, can't that be my purpose? I know a lot of times we look at these influencers and be like, well, that could be me, right? But that's not what God called you to be. Try to stop being someone else. That's a trap. You have a specific purpose. God has called you to a specific person. It is different than the person to your left and to your right. What I want you to do right now is look to the person to your left, and I want you to tell them, God has a purpose for you. Good. All right. Now look to the person to the right, because I know not everybody has someone to their left. Look to the person to the right and say, God has a purpose for you. Good. All right. See, the instructions were clear for Samson. He was going to be the leader. He was going to deliver the Israelites from the hand of the Philistines, and he just had these rules to follow. But did he? No. See, in Judges 14, 1-3, Samson went down to Timnah and saw there a young Philistine woman. When he returned, he said to his father and mother, I have seen a Philistine woman in Timnah. Now get her for me as my wife. And for all the parents in here, I will put in a disclaimer to you students, do not try this at home. His father and mother replied, isn't there an acceptable woman among you, or among your relatives, or among all your people? Must you go to the uncircumcised Philistines to get a wife? But Samson said to his father, get her for me. She's the right one for me. See, here we start to see Samson lose sight of his purpose and the plans that God had for him. See, path number 2 is a path that prioritizes pleasure. See, it all has to start somewhere. And with Samson, it's this small compromise, right? But small compromises often lead to big consequences. Oftentimes what happens with desires or sins, we're so focused on the temporary pleasures, this short-sighted pleasureness, that we disregard the effect that it's going to have on our future. See, it's just a little gossip, it's just a little homework, no one will care if I cheat. It's just one inappropriate video. I'll just ask for forgiveness when it's over. It's just one kiss. It's just one DM. Should I go on? Oh, that's all I got. All right. See, here we see that Samson found a girl he liked, and that's not the issue, okay? It's not about liking a girl or a boy. See, what happened is God, first of all, the crazy part is that he's seeking a Philistine woman. Who did I say he was supposed to deliver Israelites from? The Philistines, and he's seeking out a Philistine woman. The other part is that the Israelites had entered a covenant with God that said that they were going to marry from within. So he broke that. He also broke away from a custom that had parents or had a parental agreement with the bride. Now, it was still up for negotiation, but there was an agreement that would take place. So Samson was bypassing that. So we see this disregard for custom and for covenants over personal desire. And what I want to tell you right now is that in this moment, Samson's parents knew what was best for him. Do you think your parents are holding you back? They won't let me have fun. Oh. My parents are mean. Oh. Yeah. See, there are people in your life, it doesn't have to be your parents, but you have teachers, you have coaches, and every single one of you has a small group leader that is here tonight that loves on you and wants to protect you and wants to lead you down a path of purpose instead of a path of destruction. So stop turning your temporary pleasures into a lifetime of regret. As you keep reading through Judges, you will see that Samson didn't have anyone to hold him accountable. anyone to hold him accountable for his actions, which lead to a pattern of unchecked temptation. See, in Judges 14, 8 through 9, we see that he breaks a Nazirite vow. What happens in these verses is he had already killed a lion, and he tore it apart, and this honey had developed in it. So what he did is he passed by the dead carcass, and he scooped up some honey. So he's touching a dead body. He broke the Nazirite vow. Judges 14:10, he put himself in a compromising situation to break a Nazirite vow. He had held a feast for his wedding, which in the Hebrew word for the feast was mishta, which is like a drinking feast. Okay, so he's not supposed to be drinking alcohol, but he's putting himself in a compromising situation. How many of you are doing that? Judges 16, 4 through 17, we see that he starts to develop a love for Delilah. And what happens is he starts recklessly tempting danger. Most of you probably know the story of Delilah, and we'll get more into that later, but here he starts tempting that danger. See, in each of these missteps, we see an overconfident Samson that relies on his own strength rather than the strength that God gave him. Path number 3, a path that traps and tricks. See, growing up, I used to play this game called Frogger, and I think now they have a game called, was it Crossy Road or something like that? Okay, so I actually downloaded Crossy Road last night just to make sure it was similar to Frogger. It is. But with this game, you have a purpose. You try to move forward, move to the side, move to the left. You're trying to get to the other side or get to the end of the game, right? So what happens, you start out strong. It's like it's on level easy, right? You're going slow. You're passing the cars. You're getting on the logs, whatever that looks like. You start out strong, but as the game progresses, whether it goes to the next level or it progresses in difficulty, you start to panic. And see, what happens is sometimes you get a little do-over, maybe you get an extra life, or maybe, you know what, I know what the trick is in this level. Once I get past this, I know what's coming, right? So I get to do it again. But see, that's where life and the game of Frogger or Crossy Road differs. See, we don't get do-overs in life. See, when it comes to the mistakes that we make, I wish we had a rewind button to where we could just go back and play it again so we could redo it, but we can't. We have to live with that, okay? So what happens is when you go down this path that traps, you're stuck. And oftentimes you're doing this on your own. And temptation is too strong when you do it on your own. You keep going back for more. You keep putting your hand in the cookie jar. Nobody's putting the lid on the cookie jar. Nobody is slapping your hand and saying, no, you don't need this. So you think you're in control. But see, it's our desires that are controlling us. And what happens is they start affecting our decisions. And desire becomes a dungeon. And dungeons are dark. They're lonely. They're also harder to get out of than they are to get in. See, after toying with Delilah's temptation 3 times, she sits there and she tries the different methods to get his source of power so that he could reveal that to her. They bind him. She says, hey, the Philistines are upon you. 3 times they rush in and he takes care of them, right? But she tries again. And Samson finally reveals his secret that leads to his downfall. In Judges 16, 19 through 21, after putting him to sleep on her lap, she called for someone to shave off the 7 braids of his hair, and so began to subdue him, and his strength left him. And then she called, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. He awoke from his sleep and thought, I'll go out as before and shake myself free. But he did not know that the Lord had left him. Then the Philistines seized him, gouged out his eyes, and took him down to Gaza. Binding him with bronze shackles, they set him to the grinding grain in prison. See, just one more time cost Samson his strength, his vision, is freedom. Path number 4 is a path that leads to loss. How could Samson do this? She already tried it 3 times. That's crazy, right? She already tried it 3 times, and he got out of it. What happened was he got overconfident. He started getting lazy. He started getting addicted to the control that he had. He didn't recognize himself anymore. He didn't recognize where the source of his strength came from. And that's what sin wants to do to us. It wants to take and eat away as much as it can from us until we have nothing left. We spend more time chasing distractions than we do chasing after God. We give hours to entertainment, whether it's social media or something else, but we only give minutes to prayer. And before we know it, we wake up one day and we wonder how we got so far from the path we were meant to take. See, there's comfort over fear in this situation. He told her his secret. This is Delilah who had binded him. She shaved his head, and what did he do? He fell asleep in her lap. He was so comfortable, and that he thought, well, God will do it again. How many of you are here tonight thinking, well, God will show up again, but you aren't really pursuing him in your own time? Are you recognizing the warning signs of your life? There were warning signs for Samson. What about for you? Do you have a relationship that you're in that's pulling you away from God? Do you have a secret sin that you keep turning to? The friends you tell yourself you won't be influenced by, you keep hanging out with them? What if I told you there was a way back? See, that wasn't the end of Samson's story. Most of you probably know it, but we're going to get there. See, God just needs you to cry out to him. Some of you, he needs you to cry out tonight. See, blinded, and beaten. Samson could have just given up, but he didn't. And Judges 16:28-30 says, then Samson prayed to the Lord, Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please, God, strengthen me just once more. And let me, with one blow, get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes. Then Samson reached toward the 2 central pillars on which the temple stood. Bracing himself against them, his right hand on the one and the left hand on the other, Samson said, let me die with the Philistines. Then he pushed with all his might. And down came the temple on the rulers and all the people in it. Thus he killed many more when he died than when he lived. See, in this moment, we see Samson cry out to him. Cry out to God, saying, God, I know I've strayed from the path. I know I've went too far. I didn't put my trust in you. But he cries out and says, one more time. You gave me a purpose, and I'm here to live through. I'm here to follow that purpose. See, God wasn't done using Samson. He cried out, and God responded. See, some of you need to hear that tonight, that God isn't done with you. See, it doesn't matter how far or how long you've gone down the path of pain. It doesn't matter how many times you've messed up. If you still have breath in your lungs, then you still have purpose. See, what if tonight was the night that you said, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop making excuses. I'm going to stop settling for less. I'm going to stop choosing the path that leads to destruction. Because the truth is, your story doesn't have to end like Samson's did. See, with Samson, it was at his end. You don't have to wait till you lose everything before you turn back to God. Students, he is ready. He's available tonight. Choose the path that leads to life. Cry out to him tonight. He's waiting for you. Let me pray. Lord, I just come to you now. I just thank you. I thank you for this Fuse ministry. I thank you for the leaders that are here that show up for these students, and for the students that show up to seek you, to worship you, to praise you, and give you everything they have. Lord, I just ask that the students that are going through this path of pain, path that leads to destruction, that they turn away and they head towards the path that you have created for them, a path full of purpose, a path full of meaning, that they find you, they seek you out, they cry out to you tonight, that in their small group time, they speak up and they say, Lord, I need you. Friends, leaders, I need you. Don't let tonight slip away. Because what will happen is when tomorrow comes, that path will be easier to go down. Tonight, get back on the road and the path that leads to life. Thank you. Amen.